What is good, you guys? This is Steven with All Talk On, and I know that I said I was done with it, but fate just keeps bringing it back to me. So, what we have here in front of us is Codename Bubblegum in the flesh, and as we can see, it's definitely got something of a makeover. It doesn't look the same anymore. And the reason being is, we did not like that BitPhoenix case at all. It turned out to be a nightmare of a computer case, and overall we just decided to get something else. She really liked this pink case, which is the Ostrog, the Enermax Ostrog. So we ended up going with an Enermax Ostrog, which I don't know if you guys can tell is this same shade of pink. So yeah, by the way, also I'm in my garage. You know, right? It's amazing. Reason being I haven't done any videos in my garage is because there was a car in here along with 3 motorcycles and the ridiculous amount of stuff that is my tools, and basically there was barely any room to walk in here, let alone film a video. But now I'm back in my garage. The car is gone, we sold it, so now I got more room to play around with my toys. I'm gonna freehand this. So as we can see, I pulled off the original Enermax Ostrog logo, and I stuck a lollipop chainsaw painted as well, cut out. And one of the main reasons we wanted this is these. All around the front, it's ventilated. So this will also be kind of an overview for this case, because this is definitely a lady's case, I'm not going to lie. So as you can see, we have my custom case badges that I get cut for me. Very nice. So we have the Asus MSI and AMD, the 3 main components in this, the Asus motherboard, AMD CPU, and the MSI graphics card. So we'll hop around in the back. There's the original logo. I stuck it back on here. And then we have the AMD motherboard back. It actually comes with removable PCI slots, and they are very well ventilated. As you can see, they're all meshy. We're at the Wi-Fi card. So this thing did get a little bit of upgrade as far as that goes, mostly, like I said, for airflow reasons. The old case was running hot, and like not dangerously hot, but it just I didn't like it, and neither did she. It was running too warm. So I saw this, I went to Fry's, and I'm like, I'm gonna pick out a case, and I know that she was eyeballing this one online, and I was like, I don't really like it, but it was only 50 bucks. So we'll do a little quick thing. So we do have the ventilation here, which I'm not a fan of obstructions on the window, but at the same time, it does allow for when you have negative airflow or negative air pressure in the case, it allows for better breathing, and it sucks in air directly into the case right by the GPU, which actually keeps it a lot cooler. And yes, this case is with negative. It's total negative airflow, which yes, can be dusty, but at the same time, we don't have too many options here for intakes. I mean, you could stick a fan on one of these, but it's not filtered anyways, so you might as well just let it suck the air in on its own. So overall, the window's pretty nice, the panel. So we'll pop that off and try not to ruin it, so I'll put it over here. I have a habit of doing that. Alright, so as we can see, the fans are no longer blue. They were replaced with brand new fans because one of this fan right here was the one that would decide it didn't want to spin occasionally, and I'd have to flick it and then it'd start spinning. So it was on its way out, so I just replaced the fans, and I didn't want to paint these ones because they were brand new. And honestly, it was a huge hassle painting them anyways. So you can't really see them, so it doesn't matter. We did replace the power supply. We went with an 80 plus bronze power supply instead of the standard one that we had, which was just the 80 plus, and that is because AMD CPUs destroy power. Maybe someday I'll make a video of it, but let's just put it like this. An Intel system built with the exact same stuff wouldn't even break 400 watts. It would probably barely go over 300, maybe 320. An AMD rig, on the other hand, will hit very close to 500. In fact, even on an 80 plus bronze, we're still hitting about 460, 470 under full load. Granted, how often is your GPU at 99% and your CPU at 99%? So that is something in gaming, this thing only pulls about 300 watts, so it's not a big deal. I think the highest I've seen it during games and during rendering is probably like 320. So as long as she doesn't sit there and run Prime 95 and Furmark at the same time for a long period of time, she'll be okay. And I've already done that. I've already run Furmark and Prime 95 both at the same time to test the power supply, and I had it there for a good 45 minutes, and the power supply didn't even really get too loud. So we do have rubber feet on the bottom, which keep it from, so you can see I'm like pulling on it, it's just barely sliding. We still have the 2 terabyte hard drive and the 120 gig SSD here. Now I will say this, their hard drive sleds are weird. So the bottom one originally was what I was going to use, but these do not hold hard drives in worth a damn. So you would need to pull these off, and I would say put screws in there. And that's basically how you would hold the hard drive in. Don't use these, because then the hard drive just shakes around. But these are kind of neat. Like, the sled is not really a sled. It's actually just, as we can see here, there's no bottom or top. It's just little edges that lock into it, and then you hold the edges together as you slide it in, and it holds them in there good. They don't shake. They have rubber grommets on them for vibration, so it's pretty good. We do have a bay here. This is all modular, by the way. This bay comes out, this bay with that screw, and then the bottom bay is riveted, actually, I think. I don't think the bottom comes out. But rivets are really easy to take care of. You can get them off in a few minutes if you know how. So this middle section can definitely come out very easily to allow for dual GPU configuration, really long GPUs, which once again for a $50 case, that's a very good inclusion. This is for your 3.5 inch bay up front. As you can see, we have a 3.5 inch bay, and then for 5.25. And this is once again another really cool feature about this case is it has the cover, like with the button on it. So that way you don't have to look at your ugly ass optical drive, it hides it behind this. So once again, something really cool that a cheap case came through on. So on the top, another good feature about this $50 case, we have 4 USB ports. Granted, one is only USB 3.0, but nonetheless there's still 4 ports, which is awesome. So if you're charging your phone, you're like me and you're charging your Vapor, you got a USB external drive right here, and then I don't know, you have an extra one. That you know what I mean? That's why it's nice. You have your power button, your reset, and your activity lights, as well as your headphone jack and mic jack, and a big Enermax here. So one thing I will say that sucked about this case is its radiator support. Now for the radiators, we can see we have a giant gridded area up here. So you'd think radiator time. Nope. As we look under here, these fans are basically touching it, and either one of these could not fit the 120mm radiator I have. And honestly, I don't see it fitting any 120mm or 140s up there, because it will start hitting the RAM. As we can see, there's enough room for my finger to go through, that up and down about that much. So for RAM, we have G.skill Ripjaw X, 1866, 89924 on the latencies, which is pretty tight for 1866 RAM. All the custom sleeved wires, of course, and then these actually go into here because it looks nicer that way. And we have the custom painted water block that is for the coolermaster seidon. So it's all custom painted, as you can see. And then we have my custom painted chicks laying down on the fan grill, and the whole custom painted fan as well. And then for the top, we use 2 exhaust fans. We have 240mm Rosewheel fans. Now, we got these in a dual pack for $10, which is pretty sweet. That's not a bad deal. And I just bought a 4-pack for $11 of 120mm fans. And when you build as many computers as I do, you find out that you run out of fans very, very quickly. Overall, even with all the fans in here, we have, you know, the 3 there, 1 on the radiator, which the radiator is in the optical drive bay, just like the BitPhoenix was. Mostly because, like I said, it's not going to fit there, and I refuse to sacrifice how cool that looks. So we have a fan down here. I'll pull the front off and show you guys in a second. But as far as cable management goes, another gripe I did have was this. As you can see, the color of these wires, it is god awful. I do have some sleeving, and I could sleeve them, but that's a lot of work for very little payout. And I wish that the grommeted holes were a little bit higher so it would hide more of them. As we can see, we only have one, not grommeted, sorry, they're not grommeted. One of the holes, the only hole, is the bottom right here, which, as we can see, there's wires sticking out of it too. Oh well. I have to mess with it. I just kind of threw the back panel on without messing with the wire management. So, it's nice that they have it like this, though. If you remember the BitPhoenix, this whole section was cut off and open. And it's nice that it's just got the little hole. That's what every case should have. But I wish they would have had maybe 1 or 2 more holes up here for these. Especially for the fact that they know they put ugly wires on here. You think they would have thought that out. As far as your motherboard support, you can fit a full-size ATX. As you can see, the Asus M5A97R2.0 is not quite long enough, and that's perfectly fine. It's alright, it doesn't have to reach that. And the camera shut off. So as we can see up here, the graphics card comes extremely close to that USB 3.0. In fact, if we can see, this is a sleeve custom. It's actually unplugging because once again I didn't really do the cable management. I just slapped it together. Okay, it's plugged in all the way. So anyways, as we can see there, it's an aftermarket extension. It's basically a low profile sleeved extension that I picked up solely just so it didn't hit the back plate of the graphics card, as we can see. And the clearance on that is extremely little. Like, it is, you could fit a piece of paper in between there and maybe a little bit more, which sucks because this North Bridge does get insanely hot. And luckily the paint hasn't suffered anything from that, which is you know, a good thing. Everything's still painted, obviously. I'm gonna keep it painted. And then there's the custom cutout. The guy did a really good job on the cutout, as we can see here. Though I will say this, the guy was a huge hassle to deal with. He sent me the wrong backplate twice. In fact, this was supposed to be a 2-piece backplate. You can see the screws. You're not supposed to be able to see the screws. The reason for that is he didn't send me the second piece of the plate. And I was like, after screwing my order up how many times and taking well over 2 months to get me my product that I had already paid for, how are you messing this up still? And he's like, oh, I'll send you the other plate. And he sent it to me, and here goes the kicker. It's bigger than this plate. I don't know how he messed up the measurements again. This plate actually was cut by my measurements. I told him, get a fucking square, take my measurements, and cut it to what I tell you to cut it to. I'll drill my own holes, just cut the logo in it, and cut the square. So he did that, but the second piece he sent me that's supposed to be underneath this, basically that gets screwed in, and then this gets double taped onto it so you don't see the screws. That part, apparently he cut way too big. I don't know where he got the measurements from. He must not have double checked again, it's just a nightmare to deal with something like that. So I'd have to give that guy, I'll give him an A for constantly always replying to me. I'll give him a B for his attempts to make me happy. But I'm going to have to give him an F on the overall outcome. Granted, this does look nice, but took over 2 months to get it, and he got it wrong 3 times in a row. And I didn't even message him back after that long. The piece he sent me that was too big, I just said screw it and just use this piece. But I had to line up my own holes. Good thing I'm not an idiot, so I could figure that stuff out. But overall, the build is done and it looks amazing. As far as performance goes, it performs like an 8320 with a 270X would, which you can assume is probably, what? I think it was like 50 frames per second in GTA at like very high settings. The overall setting was set to high. Sorry, I gotta hold the camera and pop the front off. There we go. So the front comes off like 90% of every other case. It's got these little knobs. And here we can see the radiator. Yes, it's zip tied in because I'm not going to make a bracket for that. But it keeps it free floating. It's kind of cool. It actually lets airflow all the way around it and keeps the CPU nice and chilly. And then we have the 6 pins running up right through there. And then their Enermax flow fan they include here. I stuck it at the front. I took it from the back and put that one there. Then stuck it up front. So this thing breathes very well behind this case because of the vents around it. A lot better. On top of it has the big opening underneath it. Right here we have the Xbox controller receiver wires, and then the Xbox receiver itself is right there. Some things I wish is, I like the window panel, I really do, but I wish they would have kind of covered this up. BitPhoenix did on theirs, but at the same time I hate that BitPhoenix case. So as far as the cable management went, not bad. Like I said, the main reason we wanted this was better airflow options in general. Like the CPU doesn't suffocate. And the BitPhoenix one, I actually have one right here. I can give you an example. I painted them white, but I have 4 of these. These are gridded bay covers. They're vented bay covers. I basically put all these, 3 of them, in the Phoenix case to allow the radiator to breathe through it, because the radiator temps were about 5 degrees hotter than I wanted them. But this case doesn't need that because of the luscious amounts of space on top of the vents all the way through, all the way around, so it doesn't need it at all. As far as cable management goes, you get a decent amount of space. As we could see, I could literally close my fingers in here and be perfectly fine. We fit all the cables, as we can see the sleeves, and they all fit in there very nicely. Of course, my favorite place to tuck wires is always near the hard drives. So I can unplug the hard drive and show you guys how this sled works. So if you want to use the sleds in here, sadly, once again, they left out ways to use at least I think they did. I don't know. They might have included it in the box. So as you can see, we have a conversion for the sled because there wasn't really a way to hook it up. See that? Yeah, there's no sleds for the bottom, by the way. That's why I'm saying your shit just wobbles. It's a terrible thing. So how these work is you just take the edges and you just kind of line them up with the holes that it has. And then a little hard to do with one hand. I'm attempting, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying. And I'm failing pretty hard right now. There we go. Alright, so once you get them lined up, they're in. I have to hold them. So you hold them together and then you just slide them in there. And once they're slid in, oh sorry, I wasn't filming. Once it's slid in, it just clips in there and now it's in there. So that's how those work. Like I said, they did vibration dampening and they hold it pretty tight. Like that ain't going anywhere. So I didn't have an issue using them, but I originally was going to take this out to allow for better airflow. But the bottom one, not only does it expose the wires right here, because the drives have to be coming out this way to where the wires plug in here, and I didn't want the wires exposed. As well as we have a 120 fan, I think, right here, and no fan filter though. So intaking with that might be kind of, silly. But like I said, with the support of the 140s up there, it definitely helps exhaust all the hot air, and because of the vented sides right here, it brings a lot of cool air in directly where we need it, like exactly where we need it, which is on the GPU. So overall, Codename Bubblegum was a good success. This is a fully custom painted, everything sexy looking computer for a woman, obviously. I mean, I guess you could rock this if you're a dude. It wouldn't really be that bad. But yeah, no. I thought I'd finally actually do a video on it since I have it right here, and we have the new case. And I know the lollipop chainsaw stuff does look sick. Definitely does. So anyways, you guys, this is Steven with All Talk On, and I'll catch you guys later.